I've never done a video on this channel relating to amateur boxing before, but the amount of messages I've had, tweets, Facebook messages, emails about Joyce has made me want to sit down and record a video here. Joyce, if you don't already know, is Team GB's super heavyweight representative in the Olympic Games. There's a huge amount of hype about him, a huge amount of hype. Strong suggestion that he's going to go pro after the Olympics, and people are potentially considering and contemplating that he will look to mirror Anthony Joshua's success as a potential amateur star moving into the pro ranks. A lot of people out there taking it as a given that this guy is going to win gold medal, and people are very, very impressed. I was looking at the Twitter of Dave Allen the other day. For you guys who don't know, I've had Dave Allen on the channel a few times before, good heavyweight prospect, and Dave Allen said that he sparred with Joyce, and Joyce gave him hell. You know, and he said that right now he'd pick Joyce to beat Dillian Whyte, and that means a lot coming from Dave Allen, who just shared the ring for 10 rounds in a pro bout with Joyce. So, you know, with Dillian Whyte. So I sat down to watch Joyce in the Olympics, and I'd seen bits and pieces of him before. He's someone whose name has come up several times over the past few years, so I've seen bits and pieces of him. But I'm not somebody who watches a huge amount of amateur boxing, if I'm honest. I generally watch the pro boxing only. So, yeah, and because of that, I have to acknowledge perhaps my commentary on the fight isn't the most knowledgeable and most informed out there, as there'll certainly be people watching this video and other YouTube contributors who are much more well versed than I am in the amateur scene and in what goes on in amateur fights. But I sat down last night expecting to see something really, really special from Joyce, who won by first round knockout, by the way. And the reason I was expecting to see something very special was because the amount of people on my Twitter contemplating who would win in a fight between Joyce and Anthony Joshua, who would win in a fight between Joyce and Tyson Fury. You know, it was that sort of conversation. So I sat down to watch Joyce, and it was the preliminary round. I think it was the last 16 or the qualifying round or something like this. But I've got to say, I really wasn't overly taken with him in the Olympics last night. And if you haven't seen the fight, it's currently available on BBC iPlayer if you're a UK resident. If you're not a UK resident, I'm sure you can find it on YouTube somewhere else. But I've got to admit, to me, Joyce looked very raw in there. Very, very green indeed. And really lacked the smoothness that I would expect to see of an Olympic champion and or a professional boxer. For those guys out there speculating whether Joyce could be ready to fight for a world title in the next year or two, for me the answer, I'm afraid, based on this performance, is most definitely not. Now I've got to say, you know, I hate to always be the one who's down on the golden boy of the country in terms of the boxing sense. So I've got to say, it was his first bout in the Olympics, obviously on a massive scene. There's scope for Joyce to have been a bit nervous. There's scope for him to have started a bit slowly and, you know, with lots of adrenaline pumping through his system. And I expect he will improve. Obviously, it was a big, big occasion for him. So I'm not writing him off for anything based on this performance. But what surprised me is the amount of excitement that this performance seems to have created. The amount of people speculating that he's going to be a world champion in the professional ranks off the back of this performance. I saw a guy in Joyce who's admittedly a very big, powerful man. I think he's 6'6", 17 stone. But I saw him with very little technique in there. He came straight forward. He was very square on, quite rigid. There was very little evidence of a jab. And he was basically a very big, powerful man coming forward for a scrap. I thought, as I say, he was very uptight, very square on, possibly not defensively the most sound you're ever going to see. And I thought a lot of his punches were wide, punches that were smothered by the fact that Joyce wasn't judging his distance well. If I think of an elite amateur heavyweight, I'm expecting to see someone judging range. I'm expecting to see someone throwing a jab, you know, working everything off the jab, trying to point score with the jab. admittedly, Joyce is big. Admittedly, he carries power. He, obviously dispatched of his opponent, who was not the most accomplished boxer, let's put it that way, inside a round. But for me, this performance actually gave more cause for concern than celebration, if I'm completely frank. And whilst I acknowledge that Joe Joyce must be better than what was shown in this bout, on the back of this performance, I genuinely wouldn't be betting on him to win Olympic gold, let alone be banking on him becoming a world champion or banking on him beating Anthony Joshua or Tyson Fury. As I was watching the fight, and I'm not someone who knows about Joe Joyce in detail, as I say, I've heard his name, I've seen a few clips, I'm not someone who's followed his career in the amateurs, but as I was watching it, I thought to myself, this does not look like a guy who's been boxing since he was a kid. This does not look like a guy who is completely instinctive in there. It looked a bit rigid, a bit forced. There wasn't natural head movement or upper body movement, or for me it was as I say, it was slightly square, slightly rigid, slightly forced, just not the most natural. And if you look at the great amateurs, if you imagine the sort of classic Cuban amateur heavyweight, for me their performance is a lot smoother, a lot slicker, got a lot more natural flow to it to Joyce, who really didn't evidence much of a jab, didn't evidence much understanding of range, and just seemed to be a big clubbing guy who got his opponent out of there. Now, because I don't follow the amateurs, I'm not aware of who he's going to be going up against in this tournament. I'm not aware of if there's any killers out there. But at this stage, I think if there was a slick heavyweight in there who could move and jab and fight on the back foot a bit, I would not be backing Joe Joyce to win a gold medal off the back of this. And I cannot understand why. It must be me who's going mad here, because so many people who are so knowledgeable about boxing watched that performance last night and are saying that it's the second coming of Larry Holmes or Lennox Lewis. I didn't see anything like that in there. I really, really didn't. And when I said that this doesn't look like a guy who's been doing boxing since he was a kid, I typed him into Wikipedia, and sure enough, it said that he had only started boxing at 22. And then, to my surprise, I actually read that Joe Joyce is actually in his 30s already, and that he's 30 years old, which for me is another major concern. I appreciate that an amateur boxer is probably not going to be the most fully rounded, fully accomplished fighter if you compare him to someone who's had 30 fights in the pro arena. But the fact that he's 30, I'm afraid, is a negative. It is a negative. If you look at someone like Anthony Joshua, he's made very, very quick progress from Olympic champion to the pro ranks and to professional champion. Joshua won the gold medal in 2012. He won a professional world title in 2016. But that is extremely swift to do it in the time period that Joshua accomplished it in. If Joe Joyce was to mirror that success, Joyce would be 34. And I know heavyweights age a bit later, but for me, Joyce is, as I say, he's very, very raw in there. And for me, he's not somebody who has the upside of an Anthony Joshua just looking at him. Potentially I'm being a bit harsh. Maybe I'm being a bit over the top here because I've been taken aback by the amount of praise and amount of excitement about his performance in this fight, and maybe I shouldn't let myself do that. I'll certainly be keen to check him out in the other rounds and see how he develops, and certainly I'll be supporting him, obviously supporting Team GB in the Olympics. But have a look at this fight. Tell me what you see in the Joe Joyce fight that makes you believe this guy's going to win a gold medal, or that makes you believe he's going to be a dominant professional boxer. Where's the jab? Where's the judgment of range? Where's the movement? Where's the defence? Where's the upper body movement, the head movement? I'm not seeing it. I'm seeing a big, strong man who's aggressive and who clearly carries a bit of weight behind his punch. But am I seeing elite technical skills? No. I'm seeing a guy coming forward, smothering his own work, and throwing sloppy punches. Don't want to be too hard. He blew his opponent out in a round. He showed he was by far the better man in this preliminary round. But it's about levels, and the level of the opponent was very, very low. And for me, he didn't fight this fight like an Olympic gold medal winner. You know, when I look at what I expect to see in a world-class amateur boxer, I wasn't necessarily seeing evidence of that from Joe Joyce. Having said that, I give him huge allowances to get better throughout the tournament. There'll be first round nerves. It's a big, big, big stage. There'll be lots of adrenaline. And also, I do acknowledge that I'm no amateur boxing expert. I don't watch that much amateur boxing, so maybe I'm looking into something that shouldn't be there. But I want your thoughts. I'm prepared to be proved wrong on this. I'm not close-minded here. I'm just saying it how I see it. So leave your comments below. If I'm wrong, educate me. As I say, I'm genuinely open-minded, and I'd love nothing more than for Joe Joyce to go on and win the gold medal. So let's hope I am wrong. But let me know your thoughts. Do you agree with this widespread wave of excitement about him? Or like me, are you slightly sceptical? Are you questioning whether he lacks the natural technical fundamentals of a gold medal boxer? Let me know your thoughts. If you've enjoyed this video, hit the thumbs up button. If you're new to the channel, please do subscribe. I'm going to try and catch these other fights, and maybe if people want me to, I'll do a follow-up video. Thanks for watching, guys. Appreciate it.